Good morning. Hello again. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nina and this is A Really Good Life. Now this vlog is entirely about how I am starting my own support coordination business, the Hand Up Space. So if you haven't seen part 1 of this series, you need to go back and have a look at that. Please do. It's the video prior to this. Long story, and I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. In my last NDIS plan, I received a certain amount of support coordination funding. And yes, even though I'm a support coordinator, you still can get support coordination funding. It's like a doctor. If a doctor had a heart attack, would he attach the car battery electrodes to him and shock himself back to life? No. We all need support, and if for whatever reason you fall into the category where you're allowed to get support coordination, I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity and get the supports that I need. And I would encourage you to do the same. If you're wondering why I'm wearing a monk's robe, I'm actually off to hydrotherapy very soon. So there's that. I found it very hard here in Wollongong to actually find a support coordinator that I wanted to work with. And I really want to kind of phrase this correctly, but I just felt like they wouldn't be able to offer me anything that I didn't already know myself. A lot of them have such high and heavy caseloads and high staff turnover that I would run the risk of becoming just another number lost in the fray. I didn't want that. So by word of mouth, I was referred to an independent support coordination company here in Wollongong called Tailor-Made Outcomes. It's run by Mandy. You know, when I first met her, she was incredibly nervous. She was dropping her shit. She was looking over my shoulder. I couldn't figure out why she was so nervous. And it was only later in that conversation that she told me that it was because she didn't think she could offer me anything. But at that stage, all I was looking for was for someone to be there to pick up the ball if there is a crisis because of a downturn in health. That's really all I needed. So, moving on a few months, I had this support coordination funding sitting there and it wasn't being used. So what am I going to do with it? I had this brilliant idea, right? I wasn't happy with my previous employer and I thought, what do I need to do to leverage myself out to the next level? What do I need to do to be free? So I said to Mandy, how about you teach me how to be you, but just a hotter version? Anyway, she said yes. So we then embarked on a mentoring program. I think it was about 20 hours. The main thing that Mandy did in the mentoring program was to teach me that I had worth and I had something to offer. Staying in my previous employer had knocked that confidence right out of me. She'd put that hope back in me. Like when she put that self-confidence back in me, and I could see that it was a process where I could just do X, Y, Z, and boom, I could get to the next point. My God, I just went fucking turbocharged. Whoa, Nelly! Like, woohoo! I just went off like a rocket. I would go in once a week for mentoring for about an hour. I mean, I was still working at my other job at this time, so I kind of had to keep this hush-hush. Okay, Lavender is on the move. Isn't that what they say when the First Lady is on the move in the White House? Lavender is on the move. Okay, back to the little chit chat that we're having. I was doing 1 to 2 hours of mentoring per week. It was going really fantastically well. I got to a point where I just took off. Mandy gave me examples of policies and templates and all that sort of stuff that she'd used to set up her business. That's what I used, and I wrote my own policies. I learnt from the ground up. Like I was up till 1 a.m. some nights writing and learning. But was it worth it? Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm writing all the policies, I'm learning about what it takes to run the back end of a business, learning all about the insurances you need, the costs involved, the kind of equipment you might need. Will I do it remote and not have to have an office presence, or am I going to need to establish an office presence? All these questions, and it was just like, oh my God. But at the same time, it was exhilarating because for the first time in a long time, I could imagine a future where I could be empowered. I could run my own show. I could manage my disability around my work. And it was so exciting. Good morning, guys. Welcome back. Today's a really exciting day. I've got Maz here in the background. I've got a whisper. She's starting work on my website for my new business, Hand Up Support Coordination, the Hand Up Space. Good morning, Maz.
Good morning. How's it going?
What are you doing today?
Starting on the website. It's pretty exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Pickle perfection. No, that's not it. That's not it.
That's not going to be it, is it?
We'll probably edit this after the style guide comes in.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
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 What is a style guide? I'm not
So
stupid.
the-
I was
so
talking
the
about a
brand book.
style guide and I'm like,
It's a little PDF document. It might be 2 pages, but it will say like your main fonts and that. So you see how
gotcha. Yep.
he's used a certain font and certain colours.
Yep. Gotcha. So it's letting you know exactly what.
Exactly, and it tells you like even the hash code, the hex code of the colour.
Oh.
So it's like exact colour. Everything's in theme. So you don't get like weird Comic Sans here or there and it looks a bit weird.
Yeah. I am so glad that you all got to meet marvellous Maz. I have been working with Maz for the past few months. She came into my life and just blew the lid off. So Maz is a support worker whom I have found through HireUp, and she came on board with me only a few months ago when I decided to start my business and I needed to learn the tech skills to be able to do so. So Maz has been editing my YouTube vlogs, and today, as you just saw, she's involved in the creation of the website for my new support coordination business, the Hand Up Space. Now, Maz is amazing. She gets shit done. You just give Maz a task, whether it's here face to face or whether it's remote, she just gets it done. And it takes such a pressure off me. I've also learnt some amazing skills with Maz. Even just sitting down today looking at how to start that website and learning all about the colours and fonts and how it all kind of lays together and comes together to create what you need to survive in this world, a functioning, attractive website. I'm so blessed to have Maz. Sincerely. So, like I always say, the right support worker can be life-changing. Skill building is essential for me at the moment because launching my own business, and blessed to have Maz. I hope she stays around for a long time. Maz, that one's for you. Hey guys, it's Saturday night and no, I'm not out partying or having fun. Not that I do that anyway. I'm old, I go to bed at 9 o'clock and that's late for me. I'm actually sitting here in front of my computer and I'm working on my business plan. I have to have this locked down and tight before my NDIS audit, which is coming up in a few days' time. My mentor gave me like a copy of her business plan and I've been working through that and it gives me a really good template to start. Yeah, I'm really trying to get this done because to be honest with you, I'm not sleeping really well at the moment. I'm kind of really stressed because I've got one chance to nail this audit and it's costing a lot of money, so I can't afford to stuff this up, literally and figuratively. But here I am, that's what I'm doing on Friday night. I'm looking at, this is my business plan. This is a SWOT analysis, so I'm looking at my strengths, my weaknesses. One of the weaknesses is that I'm going to be a sole trader, so if I became unwell, what would I do? So I've written down that I'm going to be maintaining other sole traders who could take over in my absence. And I've got to have a very accurate participant information system, which will be MYP as my database. And that has to be always up to date in case I become unwell and someone else has to step in. And then there's opportunities. In the future, I'd definitely like to apply for grants and things like that so I can get out on the road and put some education into people. And I think like having a lived experience of disability, that would come in handy and people might want to come to hear me talk at a local neighbourhood centre or something. So I'd be looking at getting funding from say Clubs New South Wales, other places, so that I could fund doing that sort of thing. So I've done that and then I'm looking at my target market and then I've got my financial plan, the startup costs. Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing at the moment. And then at the bottom here, I've got to put in what insurances I've got and what compliance measures I have to take to launch my business. So that's what Nini is doing. These are the goals that I've identified that I've got to work on. I want to be certified with the NDIS Commission by December 2020 because it takes a couple of months after the audit to get live. And then I want to launch the business in December 2020. That's the goal. I hope that that becomes the reality. But yeah, there we go. So I'm nervous, I'm stressed. I'm a bundle of nerves. I'm really normally a calm, cool person, but this has just got me. It's something I want so passionately, and because I really want it, I don't want to fuck it up. Good morning, it's Sunday. And this is Welly. Hi. It's raining outside pretty heavy, so it's definitely a day that I'd be staying inside anyway. I am waiting for Reid to come over. So Reid is one of my colleagues at my new job. He's a support coordinator and he's been in the role for a number of years now. And his key interest area is psychosocial disability. So I have paid him today. He probably would have done it for free, but I think this is morally the right thing to do. So I've paid him as a support worker from my NDIS plan to come over today just for a couple of hours and to teach me all about psychosocial disabilities and how they are manifested and managed in the Wollongong area. So what services are out there, and ultimately his knowledge is going to help me create my psychosocial recovery coaching model for when I open my business. Isn't that right, Welly? So he should be here soon. If he's okay with it, I will do like a little bit of filming and see if he'd be okay with introducing himself. But yeah, otherwise, I'm just on here this morning. I've been scanning a lot of documents this morning, like my car insurance, and just completing like all the ID, the police check. I've got a whole list here. All the professional development records that I've been doing over time, a list of my business insurances, comprehensive car insurance, working with children's check, NDIS worker orientation screening. This is all the ID requirements that I'm going to need for the NDIS audit this coming Friday. So I'm really just making sure that everything is there and good to go. Hey guys, this is Reid. We finished up now. We've done 3 hours training in all things psychosocial disability recovery coaching. So I'm well educated, but this is Reid's first time on camera.
Yes.
And I just thought this would be a good opportunity for him to introduce himself.
I'm Reid. I'm a support coordinator with Tailor-Made Outcomes. I've started working in disabilities coming up 11 years this year. I got into working with disabilities as a young kid, actually back at school. I used to go and assist in the disability unit, and my best friend actually had profound disabilities, unable to walk, had no verbal skills, but I found ways to communicate with her, which then led me on to train and do my certificate for in community services, where I started to work in the disability sector in residential homes and social support.
Why are you so passionate about that?
A lot of time people with disabilities will have like a physical disability, but then they'll also have a mental health diagnostic as well. And I found in the disability sector, a lot of focus was on that physical disability, where mental disability was untreated, undiagnosed. They just focused on the physical. I really found it interesting how much is actually the physical disability and how much is the mental health, and how can we work with a participant to achieve both of those and give them a better life overall.
I love that. I would agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Reid, you've just bought a new puppy.
I have bought a new puppy.
I was hoping that he would bring the puppy today. I'm gravely disappointed.
He had other babysitters booked.
And how long have you been working with Tailor-Made? How did that all start?
So I've actually known Mandy, the director of Tailor-Made, for 5 years now. I was living in Dubbo, working with Life Without Barriers down in Dubbo. And I got a transfer to Life Without Barriers Wollongong. And Mandy, she was my manager. Then we kind of both moved separate ways, but kept a relationship, I guess, as friends. Mandy started Tailor-Made Outcomes in August. Then by November, she was looking for a support coordinator and kind of said I was it. And brought me across.
That's not long, is it, really, when you think about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's been a wild ride. Thank you for coming along to teach me so much today. I think I need a nap after that. I'm going to rest. Yeah, I look forward to more in the future, Reid. Absolutely. And it wasn't so bad on camera, was it?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
I'm ready. I've got my iPad all set up. I've got about 20 minutes to go till I've got to connect into Zoom. I'm kind of excited. I just want to get this over and done with now. I've got to print off one last thing and then I should be good to go. But wish me luck, and I'll check in with you at the end of the day and I'll tell you how it went. I'm sitting in my office and it's 8:30 a.m. now, and the doorbell just rang. The florist courier just dropped off these beautiful flowers, and guess who they're from? My mentor from Tailor-Made Outcomes. The card, they're so beautiful. I didn't expect this. Seriously, I did not expect this. Woo! Oh, the card says, kick some butt, tailor-made outcomes. So that's from Mandy and the team. And I guess that's just their way of showing their support for my audit today. I just know that it's going to be amazing. I'm so proud. Like, I'm so happy and proud, and thank you for everything, Mandy. Look at them! Good morning. It's Thursday, the 24th of September today. I'm just going out for a walk just around where I live. I'm doing like a 500-metre walk. Today is a very, very important day. It's the day of my NDIS audit, and I guess it's my make or break day. Interestingly enough, for the last probably a week, I have not been sleeping very well. Just probably the stress of it all, like having left one job, jumping into another job as a sole trader, and now, you know, doing the NDIS audit and going out on my own and creating my own business, my own brand identity. No wonder I can't sleep. But last night I slept amazingly well. I went to bed at about 9, woke up at 6. I felt refreshed, I felt great, I felt relaxed. Today at 9 a.m, I have to call in on Zoom and link in with an auditor who's based in Sydney, and she's going to be doing my NDIS audit. It's from 9 a.m to 5 p.m. I'll be on the computer all day long. Hopefully there's breaks, because that's going to be really fatiguing. When you have primary progressive MS, you've always got to think about your fatigue levels. The audit itself has cost me $3,550, and that is money from my own pocket. I don't know if I can claim that back on tax yet, I'm not sure, but it has nothing to do with my NDIS plan at all. That's simply my own funds, and I'm investing that money into my future. And I know that I'm going to make that money back once I'm NDIS registered, so that's not really a point of concern. I'm bubbling with excitement that this is the beginning of something. I don't know where I'm going to be in 12 months. For the past few years, I could tell you that I could always look ahead and go 12 months, I'm going to be still in the same job. My career will still be stagnant. There won't be any change. I'm still going to be working in a remote office with very little disability support, but not anymore. Now, I don't know where I'm going to be in 12 months, but wherever I'm going to be, it's going to be a really, really exciting journey, and one I hope to be sharing with you. So I better get myself home and get myself ready for this audit. Trying to remain calm. I'm doing my deep breathing this morning, just going for a gentle walk, not getting overly stressed, just take it as it is. If I'm not going to pass the audit at this point, what can I do? I've prepared as much as I can. It will play out the way it will play out. Hopefully I do, and the hand up space will be born as a new NDIS registered provider. 7.5 hours later, I'm done. I'm so tired. I have been online all day, apart from a short break, doing the NDIS audit. The auditor, Kathy, has just gone offline. We're done for the day. Draining, absolutely draining. I have been grilled about policies and procedures throughout the entire day. She said in her closing remarks that I did really well. There are a couple of things that I have to finalise before she can put the report through to the NDIS and the recommendation, but the main point that I have to do is a risk assessment template. I have to do that with a little bit more detail than I had provided. Yeah, a couple of other little tiny things. That shouldn't take me more than, say, 48 hours to get done. And then I will email that to her. She will then have to do a report. That report then becomes a recommendation to the NDIS. The audit report then gets reviewed again for a second time by a peer auditor. So that's another independent auditor that sits in that NDIS space to make sure that this auditor has done her job correctly. If they clear that as all correct, then it's just a waiting game to see how long this can all happen. Now, technically, I could work with participants at the moment, like support coordination that's plan managed. What I have learned from this process today, the audit process, is that if you can prove that you've passed an NDIS audit, it just adds that level of quality, that level of kind of letting participants know that you at least have been certified to that level. And it lets them know that you're passing regular audit processes. You've got to kind of really maintain your standards. One really important point I learnt today was I have always been trying to weigh up whether or not I'm going to like go hard and grow this business really big, or am I going to go small and niche and just be really, really good at one thing? She told me a story about two support coordinators, females, who got together and they formed a support coordination business, I guess similar to me. And they got so big and they were so good at what they did that they burnt out within 2 years. They both became ill. They had no work-life balance. Their families became disconnected, and they eventually the business just crumbled internally. So that's kind of like a what not to do. In my gut, I think, I'm tempted tempted to go hard, go big, grow this, see where it goes. But in other respects too, I think learn what you need to do and do it really well. And this is not a race. Just because you're big doesn't mean you're better. I want to be really specific about what clients I take on and the outcomes that I want to achieve. And I think that you can only do that when you're working with a select population. We talked today too about hiring staff. That scares me. Like finding good quality staff is something I know I'm going to struggle with, because trusting them to be taking my name and my business name and going out in the community and representing me, I just have to find the people with the same vision as me. But I have to go to work tomorrow. I start work at 7 a.m. In my gut, I just feel like taking a day off because this was intense, really intense. Are you here to provide moral support? This is Welly. He's been sitting on my lap a little bit during the audit process, trying to help his mummy. He said, I don't know what you're doing, Mama, but I'm here if you need me. Okay, so moving forward, I had thought about starting this business 6 months or so seriously after my mother passed, so 12 to 18 months ago, and I had deliberately set aside a portion of money. That money was going to be my startup funds for the business. So the thought was already there, Mandy just made that thought a reality. The next process is to become registered under NDIS. I could have done support coordination as a non-registered provider. That would have been a frick hell of a lot easier, but it would have restricted the number of participants I could work with. So I paid $3,850 to a company, and I did the audit process with them, and it was exhausting. It took 7.5 hours straight, and they looked at all the policies that I had. They picked it apart, they questioned me, they made me question myself. But in so doing, they're making sure that I'm going to best serve very vulnerable people. So I understood it, but it was very exhausting. I've paid that money, and that has now been proved, and it's gone through to the NDIA. It may take, 1 month, it could take 6 months. There is no set time frame. It's however it's going to play out. After I had done that, I went to Mandy for another mentoring session, and this is when it gets really interesting. I'm there, and it was like a wrap-up session. I'm like, Mandy, I've done this and I've done that, and I was seriously considering leaving my previous employer, just taking a few months off. I put money aside specifically for this reason. Just having a breather. Once the registration had been approved, I could then go back into it and start again. I go into Mandy's office for the final mentoring session, and oh my God, the woman just blew my mind. We went through this checklist, and it said at the bottom, there was one last thing I had to do, and I went, oh my fucking God, have I forgotten something? And it said contract to TMO whilst waiting for NDIS registration. TMO is tailor-made outcomes. So the thing was, she'd offered me a job. My mind was blown. I accepted that with glee, and I left my previous employer, rang them up, and I said, I have to go, effective immediately. I'm done. I got a better offer. I could not refuse that offer. I knew it was going to be much better for my physical and mental well-being, and I accepted it, and I haven't looked back. So I think I'm in a very enviable position to be able to work for Mandy whilst I'm actually waiting for my registration process to go through. This brings me to my last and very interesting point. My own NDIS plan review is coming up next week on Tuesday. I am nervous about it. There's 2 reasons. One, Mandy and her team can no longer be providing support coordination for me because it's a conflict of interest. So I've had to find another support coordinator. I again have gone with a small boutique company with a woman who has a disability, and she's gone out on her own and started her own company. Well, she knows that she could do it better than the bigger provider. And this woman is a little pit bull, and she comes with a fantastic reputation. So I went out to meet with her last week, and I signed her up on the spot. Signed her up. Boom. So I now have a new support coordinator, which is fantastic. She's a great advocate and a great support for people who have got funding under the category finding and keeping a job. I think that's a category that a lot of people don't really seem to understand the complexities of it, or the potential breadth of how you can use funding and request funding under that to find and keep a job. So do you want me to kind of explain how that works? Now, I'm only going to be able to talk about what I am doing with the category finding and keeping a job in this vlog. Maybe I'll get time to do it in a later vlog and explore it in a little bit more depth. For me personally, I am requesting funding under finding and keeping a job for a couple of different reasons. One, I now have primary progressive MS and a diagnosed mental illness. That means that I now fall into the psychosocial stream as well. That's a really important thing to remember. I can't drive, legally not allowed to drive because of the effects of my disability. For me to be able to work effectively as a support coordinator, I'm going to need a lot of funding for people to drive my wheelchair van. I'm out on the road from 7 a.m. once I start my business, probably 4 to 5 days a week, doing client home visits, training sessions, visiting providers, on-site visits in different locations, from Sydney to potentially Nowra, potentially the Southern Highlands. That's a lot of hours. Without that funding, I would not be able to continue to work. The other thing I'm requesting is ongoing business mentoring. Because of the effects of my MS, the fatigue level and the cognitive difficulties that I do have, which are documented, and the effects of the mental illness that I do have, I'm requesting ongoing business mentoring over the next 12 months to help me start the business. That's a reasonable and necessary use of funding. Absolutely. And that's what I'm requesting. Is it going to be easy? No. A couple of different reasons. So one, NDIS seem to like to push back and say that you need to go to a DES provider, Disability Employment Service. A DES provider cannot provide me with that level of funding. That's just not their scope. I do have a DES provider. All they do for me is a fortnightly phone call to see how I'm going and a fortnightly massage. And if I need workplace equipment or modifications, they call Job Access and get that organised. That's all they're doing for me at the moment, and they certainly have no capacity to fund the level of funding I need. So strike them off the list. Sometimes NDIS also seem to think that Job Access should fund the things that I'm requesting under finding and keeping a job, and again, that's bullshit. All they do is equipment and that sort of thing. They don't actually provide support workers to drive your van and ongoing workplace mentoring, business mentoring. I think also, this is my gut feeling, NDIS still don't seem to understand that people with disability can be just as smart, just as productive and just as capable as the mainstream. We just need a little bit of support to do so. It's like they think you should still work in an Australian disability enterprise or something. That's a sheltered workshop for those of you who don't know. That's not my level. Nothing against that if that's what your thing is, but I want to be doing this and I need that support, and by goddamn, if I don't get that in my plan, it is make or break. I will appeal it and then I'll end up in the AAT, the Administrative Appeals Tribunal, if that is where it needs to go. Just purely because my business will not get off the ground if I don't get that funding. Okay, enough said about that. Now, the final conversation that I will have with you as we roll home. Oh shit, oh my God, this is a bit steep. Oh, Nini, what do you do? I'm digging into the ground. Seriously, I should not be allowed to drive a wheelchair. I need a licence for this thing. People always say to you, do you get a licence for that thing? I feel like saying, yeah, fuck off, mate. We are rolling, baby! Rolling! Now, the last thing is money. What does it cost to start up a business? Like I said, the main cost for me has been the NDIS audit. The original business mentoring was under using my support coordination funding. There have been other costs along the way. Insurances. To be working as a sole trader at the moment, I think it's around $500 per year. Obviously, if I had employees, that's going to be a lot different. You need to have a tax agent on board to be doing your tax for you. Computers. I have purchased a laptop. As a sole trader at the moment, I'm responsible for purchasing my own phone, my own laptop, maintaining my own car. It's quite a bit, isn't it? So you kind of need to have money behind you, but I don't think it's not a great deal of money, if you get what I'm saying. I also set up my home office, but I did that on the cheap. I had a handyman / support workers come in. I did pay for the furniture myself, but I had support workers to help me. So I've got a functional home office, a really nice space. So the main cost, I would say as a startup cost, what I've probably spent so far, by an estimate, I'd say $7,500. You've also got to factor in that I've paid for a business logo, printing of business cards. Then you've got your website hosting fees. I've used Squarespace. It depends on how much you want to get into it. You could do it yourself potentially if you've got some IT savvy, but I did get a support worker to work on that. There's that cost. So I've been very savvy in keeping my costs down, using support workers where I can, using my NDIS funds for business mentoring. I've used my savings to pay for the audit. So far, I'd say about $7,500. If it comes to the fact that I want to open up an office and start employing people, the costs are going to go through the roof. I have been out looking at office premises. I need to have disability access, obviously, and it's got to be an area where people can get to by public transport. Or should I just start small, like working from home, and grow slowly? Or do I smash it and go big? I think start slow and grow steady, but you know, time will tell. So that's really the extent of it. If you've got any questions or anything, please do let me know. I kind of feel like I've touched on most things about how I've done it. Please do understand that not everyone is going to be able to do this. Again, that I'm really blessed to be in this position to be able to do it. So I don't know what that's staring for. Probably think I've escaped from a group home or something. So I acknowledge that I am quite privileged in being able to start my own business, having the funds to be able to do so, having the know-how, having the connections. But when I say that NDIS did change my life, I truly do mean that, because if I can nail this next plan and get that funding under finding and keeping a job, then I'll be able to start my own business and move forward and know that I've got the right supports in place for it to be a success and for me not to struggle and end up being unwell because of the pressure that I would have to endure. So thank you for coming along again on this journey. I hope I haven't bored you to death with all of my business ranting. I hope this has been of somewhat interest. Love you guys. Thank you for all the support. Love you guys. Always remember, it truly is nothing but a really good life. See you next time.